I want to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land which we meet, pay my respect to their elders past and present. Also want to thank the MUA for this initiative again, for the Jobs Embassy, give workers the opportunity to have their voices heard about what's affecting them and their families. Obviously there's been some discussion about Yoi Lang and the problems down there with the termination of agreement or termination of industrial action, but it's a myriad of issues right around this country. It's not just isolated to there. So I congratulate the MUA for giving us the opportunity to get up here today and have a speak, and once again the initiative is a great thing for allowing workers to have the opportunity to come and have their say about what affects them in their future. The issues in Victoria obviously aren't isolated, but we have some problems in this country when we have legislation that allows companies to go off and seek to have protected action ballots or protected action terminated for the sake of bullshit reasons. And those bullshit reasons are this: our country is supposed to have an energy crisis, but the reality is this: our country produces over 42,000 megawatts of power, and last year alone we had 15,000 megawatts of spare power in this country. So the crisis isn't about our capacity to generate electricity. Our crisis is that we've allowed multinational companies to come in and steal our capacity to govern what our electricity prices are. In places like South Australia, when there was an energy blackout down there, we had generators that had the capacity to turn on and pump electricity in the grid, but they chose not to, simply because they wanted to drive up electricity prices in this country. So the crisis isn't about electricity, capacity to produce electricity in this country. The crisis is about the fact that these multinationals are getting away with price gouging and driving up prices for all consumers. And we need governments to stand up to that. But we've got a government here like Malcolm Turnbull and his cronies that aren't interested in doing that, because the big end of town gets the profits from that. They take away from mums and dads right around this country through electricity, which is one of the highest commodities, one of the highest things that are paid for week in, week out. When pensioners are struggling to turn on their air conditioners in summer and turn on their heaters in winter simply because they're afraid of what their electricity prices are, when you've got the big end of town, like I said, gouging prices out, it's a sad state of affairs. Yet Malcolm Turnbull and his cronies aren't interested in doing anything with respect to that, because that's their loyal supporters. The big end of town will continue to support those people so they can continue to make maximum profits out of the expense of Australian citizens. And it's got to stop. We've got to make sure that we hold this government to account and any future governments to account, and make sure that legislation is changed to bring balance back, to allow workers to have an opportunity to go out and have their say, and if there's unfair conditions in place, to be able to take protected action, to go on strike to advance their position. But when you've got legislation which allows agreements to be terminated, when you've got go through a protected action ballot process which could take weeks and months to get over the line, just so you can get out the gate and have your fight about your wages and conditions for the future of yourself, the future of this country, and the future of your family, it's a sad state of affairs. We've got a government here that's more interested in giving tax cuts to those people that earn $180,000 a year than looking after mums and dads that are struggling week in, week out, and taking away their penalty rates. These pricks here support taking away penalty rates from some of our most vulnerable in this country. It's a disgrace, an absolute shame, and this country's in crisis because of these bastards on the hill. I want to say this, that there's an immense amount of changes that need to happen to the Fair Work Act, and that's just a start, some of those things that we need to do. We need to come together as a union movement right around this country and make those changes. We need to force politicians of this country to start aiming up and looking after their constituents, which they're employed to do. They're voted in to look after us. They're voted in to make the right decisions. And every decisions these bastards up here have been making of late have been nothing but horrendous for workers in this country. So it's about time that unions take charge of this. We make them accountable for it. We take back what was ours, always will be, always has been. And that's the right to go out and challenge employers when we need to and get the benefits for our work. And the problem in this country is going to be for the future. I've got 3 kids. I'm just disgusted at what I'm going to leave them as a legacy if I can't turn this around myself personally. And if we can't turn around collectively. We've got to get off our asses, and we've got to make sure that every person in this country knows exactly what these pricks are doing, knows exactly the reasons why we need to come together collectively and fight like we've never fought before, and make those respective changes we need to make it fairer, to put the balance back to workers, to give us the opportunity to go out and compete. How dare they come in the middle of the night and march people off ships? What have they done to our maritime industry? What have they done to our mining industry? What have they done to our manufacturing industry? Every single occasion these jobs are going offshore. What's the future going to be for Australia when companies, multinational companies, can dig all our resources up out of the ground, ship it off overseas, make millions and millions of dollars profit and pay no tax? What's this country coming to? We've really got to realise that, and we've got to send that message out to the community. I again congratulate the MUA on this initiative. This is where it all starts. This is where it makes sure we send our clear message to these people up here to get off their asses and start using their muscle, their political muscles, to start making real changes. And it's a message to the ALP as well. It's a message to the ALP to make sure that when they do get into government, and when they do get into government in the next federal election, they make real changes to the Fair Work Act so that we can bring the balance back. So it's a level playing field instead of this one-size-fits-all for the employers. Thanks very much and congratulations to the MUA.